Welcome back, people. We are back for another episode of Elephant in the Room. This week we are at episode number 22, people. Number 22. These weeks are going by fast. Uh, the months is going by even faster, and we are already damn near halfway through the year 2025, which is like absolutely crazy. But with that being said, man, we're going to get into it. Y'all know the purpose that I'm here for this week. I'm here to provide my personal opinion on things that have happened in the current week that has just passed. Before we go on to any of that, though, again, just like I do every week at this time, I want to give a special shout out to each and every last one of my supporters. I just noticed that I have a few new subscribers on my page as well, on my YouTube page, which I am extremely grateful for. Again, everybody who support me with this platform each and every week, who has watched every episode, you already know. I appreciate that to the utmost. And for everybody here who this may be their first time, tuning in, I want to welcome you to Elephant in the Room. Everybody who supports my music career, which that being said, my latest project, Gold Tape, is currently out right now across all DSPs. It is available everywhere music could be heard, everywhere music could be sold. That is my third solo project. My previous two, which is my first one, this one's for you, Dad, and Scale Tape, is also available across all DSPs. So please, for those of you who haven't gotten a chance to go check that out, please go check that out, people. Again, it's not hard to find. Type up my name, Funderburk. You'll find it. Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora, anywhere you listen to music at is on there. And for those of you who are continued supporters of Scale as well, I want to thank you guys for that. And like I said, just to provide you guys an update on that, we are currently in construction right now to get ready for the summer. This not to get too political on you with you guys, but this tariff stuff is putting a monkey wrench in the game a little bit. So I never thought that I would have to deal with anything directly responsible for that's directly the cause of our current president right now. I never thought I would have to deal with anything of that sort firsthand, but it is, an obstacle that we have to get through, that we have to get past. But again, we will get past it. So we will be giving you guys, we will be having new clothing from the summertime on. You know what I mean? So we are just working through some things right now and getting everything right. But again, everybody who has supported me through all of that, my music, clothing, and this platform, I appreciate you guys for that. With that being said, we ain't gonna waste no more time. We're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna start with the biggest news of the week. As I told you guys, I touched on it last week. As we all know, this week was the first week of the Diddy trial. Uh, shockingly, just like just like this case period, it's going extremely fast. Like, to have a federal case that is able to go to trial within a year, is nuts. Puff hasn't been locked up a year yet, and he's already on trial. I don't know if that's good for the prosecution. I don't know if that's good for the defense. I don't know. I'm not even going to sit up here and act like I do know. But I do know that this whole thing is going fast. So just, as the normal schedule programming would go, the first week of the Diddy trial had just concluded with Friday's trial. And they already have their star witness on and off the stand. She came on Tuesday. She concluded her testimony on Friday. Now, I do want to preference that by saying the prosecution, they push for that. They push for, her to have her testimony go as quickly as possible. That seems to be a strategic move on their part so that the defense may not ask all of the relevant questions that they should ask, that they are supposed to ask. And they wanted to try to rush through their cross-examination. The prosecution wanted the defense to rush through their cross-examination. And again, that's what it seems like to me on the outside looking in. That was really shocking. Star witness going on the stand this early. But again, with that being said, also I got to be fair. Like, she's 8.5 months pregnant as well. You know what I mean? So she can literally have her baby any day. You know what I'm saying? So they wanted to get her in and out. So that was the reason for her going so soon. You know what I mean? Again, I don't know if that helps the prosecution or the defense. And as of today, they had, I believe, 3 witnesses on the stand. They had the security guard who was working at the Intercontinental Hotel, that whole Cassie and Diddy physical altercation that was caught on video. They had the security guard who was working that night, who is now a LAPD officer, on the stand. They had a male escort on the stand. Don't know his name. I don't even know if they had even publicized it yet. And they had Cassie, the star witness, on the stand. Now, with that being said, we're going to get into some shit, y'all. Before I get into the technicalities of it and the facts and like the court proceedings, I want to get something out the way. Me, I'm a man. I'm a man in every sense of the word. I'm a man of integrity. I am a man that takes accountability, both for my actions and, maybe other people's actions that I may have a close relationship with or close ties with. So I preference my statement by saying that. So when things of this nature comes up, these things are triggering to me because I'm a man. And on top of that, I'm a black man. And just like I told you guys before, when this Diddy case first, when I first started covering this, when I first started doing this, because my first episode of doing this, Diddy was already in the shit that he's into. He was already accused of, But I told you guys, I don't want to live in a world where the only thing that has to happen is for somebody to say that I did something, and based on if you like me or not will determine if I really did it or not when I'm being accused of. People, me personally, like I said, I told you guys, I give you guys a promise that I'm going to do these episodes each and every week. So if I'm going to do this as well as I want to do it, I have to be invested in these type of topics, right? So now I have to pay close attention to this. So now I had to sit around and listen to some of you motherfuckers talk about how Diddy fucked with Justin Bieber when he was a child. I had to sit around and listen to he had sex with Usher. He had sex with Kevin Hart. He raped women with Jay-Z. It was drugs and the baby oil. It was, he would spike drinks at his all-white party. People across the whole party would like fall out and be paralyzed and not have any control of what happens to them. It was also, it was like a recording of like smacking going on and like a man moaning. And they put that on Meek Mill. Just a whole bunch of bullshit that just wasn't true. That's triggering to me because like I preferenced my statement in the beginning, I'm a man of integrity and I'm a man of principle. Now I'm a man of accountability too. But people, at what point are we going to stop entertaining lies? Now, it's one thing if the lie sounds true. But if a lie doesn't sound true, you gonna have to show me some proof that that shit happened. Just because a lie don't sound, just because something don't sound true, it don't mean it didn't happen. It just means you gonna have to show me this happened. Like, you're gonna have to show me that. And I had to sit here on my phone for a year. And I had to pay attention and listen to that bullshit. Now, again, people, it only been 1 week. We have a long way to go. They are predicting the case to be over with by July 4th. Give or take, it could be over with sooner. It could be over with, around that time. But that's the predicament they're giving. I don't think it's gonna go that long. But again, before I get into the logistics of the case and my personal opinion on it, I just like yo, man. And I'm telling, it's people that I know that was pushing that. And it's just, like, yo, dog, like, I'm not gonna lie, that make me look at you funny. Because it's like damn, like, and even again, I touched on this before. If you can speak to that person's character on a personal level, cool. You can have your thoughts on if this person really did this or really didn't do this. You cool. But most of the people that's across my timeline, both just on social media, period, y'all don't know that man. Y'all never had an encounter with that man at all. Now, I watched the Joe Budden podcast, which is a great podcast. I'm a huge fan of it. And, Joe Budden speaks to Diddy's character. I'm not going to say a lot, but on multiple occasions. And he's consistent in his shit where he like, Puff is a piece of shit. He manipulated this and that to the third. Joe Budden has personal dealings with Puff. Joe Budden has been in the game for north of 15 years. And he's been around Puff enough to be able to make that assumption about him and it have some validity to it. I'm here to tell you I don't know Puff. I have never been around him, never had any dealings with that dude. So, like, when people of that stature, like of Joe Budden stature, when they have those opinions of him, it's valid. It's valid because he has the he can speak on dude. You know what I mean? Because he's been around him. But again, man, all of this shit that I had to sit up here and listen to for a year. And yes, I had to, because if I'm going to do something like this, give you guys updates and have opinions on anything, I have to be able to be somewhat well versed in the shit. I have to know enough about it to at least give you guys an accurate opinion on whatever I think. So I had to pay attention to this shit. And the amount of lies that came out before this case even went to trial, the amount of lies that a lot of y'all was putting on other individuals that has nothing to do with this is like just incredibly distasteful and whack and so not the thing to do, especially as a man. And I keep saying as a man because, you know, with all due respect to women know this to be true as well. Like, you know, women are more of the gossipy type. Women can get away with talking about things that may not be true. Women can talk about things that they don't have any facts on. That is gossiping. That is a female trait. We know that, men know that, women know that. I'm not breaking any news when I say that. But for the man, especially when we're discussing about another individual, it just ain't the thing to do. So shame on the people that were pushing them narratives of the lies that were told in the year leading up to this trial. That is incredibly distasteful, and I don't see how you can look at yourself in the mirror as a man, as an individual, as a father, as a real dude, whatever you categorize yourself as being. I don't even see how you look in the mirror and you was doing that and you have no facts, you have no reason of doing this, but you were participating in this anyway. That is so disgraceful, just as a man of principle and a man of morals and a man of integrity and respect. But again, just like I started my statement by saying, I'm a man of all those things. And I'm quite aware that we are growing extinct. That is running out of style. You know what I mean? To be a man of integrity, respect, code of ethics, and all of that. Like, so I understand that it's not even a popular thing to be right now. But again, based on the simple fact that I'm a man who stands for all that, that is the reason why I take the stance of the stance I'm taking right now. You know what I mean? In terms of just posting lies, running with lies, and you know what I mean? Just talking about them as if they're true. Shame on y'all. With that being said, I had to get that out the way. With that being said, we're going to get into, we're going to get into some of the things that happened in the trial. This trial is turning into men versus women. I can see it right now. Again, they had three witnesses that took the stand. The security guard who worked that night in 2016 of that hotel incident, escort who was having sex with Cassie, and a lot was reported. He had sex with Cassie. She would get pissed on. He would ejaculate on Cassie, and Cassie would then go in another room with Puff, and she would rub the escort's semen on his chest, mainly concentrating on the nipple. That yeah. Yes. So the male escort, he didn't testify to that. Cassie did, but that's super weird. That threw me for a loop. That's super weird. Does that categorize as freaky? I don't think so. I think that's like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, but hey, that's not my cup of tea. I can't speak on that. You know what I mean? Much more than I already did. So, so we have found out that Cassie would get peed on. Right? So now the male escort, so now when that news broke, it was assumed that, Puff, had orchestrated that to happen. But the male escort had went on the stand himself and said, no, Cassie was actually the one that asked me to pee on her. And then when that happened, it was, oh, well, he probably instructed her to ask him to do it. He, as in Puff, he probably instructed Cassie to ask the male escort to piss on her. So then Cassie gets on the stand and she addresses that. She said, who would want to get, urinated on? Who would want to, who would want that? And I'm with her there. I don't know I don't know anyone who would like willingly want someone to piss on them. So she had, they had asked her about that, the prosecution. So the prosecution questioned her for like 2 days, 2.5 days or something like that. Then she had got a chance to get cross-examined by the defense. And, the defense, that's the part I'm going to focus on, just because, that's where like this case to me really gets started, because and the reason why I'm saying that is because, anytime somebody has to deal with contradiction, anytime somebody has to deal with things they said here but didn't say here, that's when the trial gets juicy, right? And so they began their cross-examination by sort of like role playing. So they, like, the defense team, they had showed her a slew of text messages from her and Puff, and the defense team was reading the text messages that Puff sent, that Diddy sent, and they had Cassie reading her own messages. And while doing that, a few things came up. The main things were, she wasn't as forced into doing the freak-offs as much as we thought. It was a few times in those text message threads that she clearly wanted to do it. She had no problem with doing it. And when they do it, she wants it to be uncontrollable. Now, my freak ain't that advanced, so I'm going to take that to mean anything goes. No holds barred. There are no rules. I can be wrong in my assumption, but again, my freak ain't that advanced. So they speak in the language I don't speak. So it was times when she had also testified that, one time Puff left the freak off to go see his child's mother, Kim Porter, and Cassie wasn't feeling that. There was also a time when she said he left a freak off because he heard Suge Knight was like at a restaurant nearby. So I guess he left the freak off, grabbed guns with someone named D-Rock who works for Diddy. I believe that's if my knowledge serves me correctly, I believe that's like one of Biggie's homies from back in the day. So I guess he went and grabbed guns with him and they left, and she was crying and screaming, telling him don't do anything stupid, this and that to the third. I don't want to see anything happen to you, would not. So she testified that in court. But in another transcript that they had with Cassie before the trial took place, she told them that they had actually forced her in the car to go with them to address Suge Knight. Yeah, they brought up her jealousy towards Kim Porter and other women. It was one other woman, I think her name was Gina, which Cassie was incredibly open about from the jump. You know what I mean? She was incredibly open about it from the jump that, she was jealous of of a few women, not everybody, a few, so, with the cross-examination, I believe it did what it was supposed to do. And like I said, a lot more happened. Again, if I was to report on you with this case in full detail, I wouldn't have time to talk about anything else in this episode. So I'm going to paraphrase it as much as I possibly can. But that's the reason why I said, the cross-examination is when, the case really gets started with me. So now, with that being said, my personal opinion on this case at its conclusion of 1 week, it looks like the prosecution they're trying to win the court of public opinion. It does. And the court of public opinion shouldn't have anything to do with the court of law. They're speaking to his freaky. I don't think they have yet to prove any type of coercion or force or sex trafficking. See, sex trafficking is tricky, right? Because sex trafficking, technically, if you fly a girl out and the purpose is for sex, that's sex trafficking. But everybody fucking do it. And what I mean everybody, I mean by in that world of celebrity. You know what I mean? And Lil Boosie has spoke to that point. For those of you who don't know who Lil Boosie is, he's a recording artist from Louisiana. He has spoke about this quite a few times. And a while ago, it was just yo, man, with your schedule always being on the road, never being in one place, if you're gonna have an intimate moment with any type of female that you trust, you're gonna have to fly them in wherever you're at. You are. You know what I mean? If I'm a celebrity and I got 4 girls on my team that I trust and that I feel like dealing with for this particular night, but they all from Houston and I'm in California, you're gonna have to fly them out in order for me to see them and handle my business with them, do what I want to do with them. I'm gonna have to fly them out. But sex trafficking puts such a negative connotation to it, because when you think sex trafficking, you watch enough news, you've seen enough movies to the point where sex trafficking, that strikes you for, a young girl is landing from a flight, they waiting for an Uber or whatever, and somebody just comes, snatch them up, put them in the car, drive them away, you never see them again. You know what I mean? Or like just a young girl being manipulated at a certain point, to the point of doing a lot of things that they don't want to do and it don't seem right to them, but they're doing it because they look up to this person who's so much older than them. They look up to them to a point where it's like, anything you say is right, even though it don't feel right to me. I'm gonna still do it because you telling me it's right, and I'm afraid of the consequences if I combat that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it strikes me as, like. But sex trafficking is all of that. It's those two examples I just gave, and on top of that, it's also flying a woman out who I may really be feeling, or I really trust, and I feel like dealing with for this particular night, and I'm flying them out for the pure purpose of sex. That's also sex trafficking too. So the sex trafficking thing is a little tricky, but like racketeering, you know, what's his other charges? Sex trafficking by coercion, force. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. Realistically, I don't see it after the first week. And again, I'm pretty sure they didn't set out to win this case after the first week. It's only been 1 week, but the reason why I feel so comfortable in giving you my opinion on this so early is because their star witness just went. And for those of you who don't know what a star witness is supposed to represent, that is the person who is going to drive your point home. That is the person who is that's the one witness that you're going to call on the stand that is going to put the nail in the coffin on this case. This is the one person that is going to win my case. This is the home run hitter right here. This is the person who gonna take this out of the park. After this person gets off the stand, she or he is not gonna leave any doubt as to if this person is guilty or innocent. And I don't think she did that. I don't think she did it. Again, I'm not well versed in the court. I don't have courtroom etiquette. I don't know. I don't know, but just looking at it as a individual who comprehends information and who comprehends what the prosecution was setting out to do, I don't think she knocked it out the park like they thought she would do, like how all of us thought she was gonna do. When we heard we heard from the very beginning, like Cassie being on the stand, he cooked. And I don't believe the stories was as bad as we thought they were. Out of all of that, the worst thing in this was that tape that we seen a year ago, or maybe 10 months ago. That's the worst thing. So again, it's a long way to go in the trial, but I don't think it drove home the point like they thought it would. I don't think Cassie drove home their point like they thought she would. But the reason why I say I think it's turning into men versus women, because it's like a lot of things, right? It's when they were having her read her text messages, and when she was initiating some of the freak offs, when he was clearly not trying to do it, but she was, when it was brought up that, Puff tried to wean her off of drugs. He was contacting the drug dealers that both of them deal with, and it was like, yo, don't sell her no more drugs when I'm not around. Don't sell her no more drugs, period. Like, it was times when they pointed out, she had various relationships with Kid Cudi, uh, with her now husband, Alex Fine, I believe his name is. But even while in a relationship with them, she was still going back to Diddy. And, the defense is just like, well, if you're doing all of that, you was telling us that you were so fearful of leaving that kept you in a relationship for a decade. Why, when you left, you went back? And a lot of women, they start talking about, men too, but a lot of women, they start talking about how, oh, even when when you're in an abusive relationship, you never leave right away. It takes you about 7 to 8 times to leave. It takes a lot to happen for to you to finally get in and say this is the last straw, this and that to the third. And it's like, I don't even want to be dismissive to those points that women bring up, because a lot of times women speak about things that we can never get, and we don't have any right to even comment on these things. But that shit got to stop somewhere. Like, it was a text message where she was like, I'm always down to freak off. And it was like, well, yeah, I sent that because, I knew that's what he wanted to hear. She didn't say that verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing. And it's like, well, wait. And as a man, that particular part right there triggered me, because it's like, again, I don't like, yo, bro, at what point is it consensual? Like, I don't want to live in a world where a girl can text me, yo, I want you to fuck the shit out of me, or I want to give you the best oral sex you have ever had in your life. And then 5 years down the road, be able to say, oh no, I felt like you forced me to do that, to send those messages, because I know how you like sex, and I know how you like oral sex every Sunday. So I thought I would have to send you that message in order to stay in your good graces and not get beat. It's like, wait a minute. You're sending me messages saying how much you want something. And now you're trying to tell me you felt like I forced you to send that to me because what you thought I would want, to stay in my good graces, or to keep on my good side and to not get beat. So at what point is it consensual? I don't want to live in a world where this interaction, this sexual interaction, can be consensual today, and then in September, when I done hit the lotto, or I done signed a record deal, or my Elephant in the Room goes viral, and now all of a sudden that consensual romantic night turns into a horrific surviving Thunderbird night. Like, what? Come on. Like, I don't want to live in that world where young men have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't want to live in a world where we already as men have to worry about so much, a lot, women too, but we hear about the struggles of women every day. And as men, we're not allowed to express our struggles as men. Fuck that. It's hard being a fucking man. And it's a lot to deal with on so many different levels. The other thing that triggered me as a man with this Puff trial is, the whole, oh, she was 19 when that's a misconception too, because a lot of people was like, well, he was dealing with her when she was 19. That's wrong. They met when she was 19. And they started dealing shortly after that. But I believe they started dealing when she was like 19, no, when she was like 20, 21, something like that. But it's like, so they became like official like in when she turned 22, because I believe she said he kissed her on her 21st birthday. So again, like, for everybody out there, oh, he was dealing with her when she was 19. You're lying again. Throw that in the boat with the drugs and the baby oil and the spiked drinks at the all-white party and him molesting Justin Bieber and all. Throw that shit in the boat with that and let it keep moving down whatever ocean it's in. But as I was saying, the one thing that triggers me too is she was 22, she was a baby. She wasn't at the mental capacity of being able to possibly know what she was possibly dealing with him. Let me start out by saying this. First and foremost, it's old motherfuckers that's still not at a mental capacity to deal with whatever they're going through right now. Both men and women. So in this case with Cassie, like, why are y'all labeling her as a kid? So now it's to the point, the consensual thing is out the window now. Now we don't even care that she's a grown woman. I had read a comment on one of these pages. It was like, well, she's a young lady. She's not a grown woman. She doesn't know everything about life yet. Some of you motherfuckers 50, 60 years old and still don't know everything about life. She's grown. When we gonna stop calling these grown motherfuckers kids? Now, granted, 22 back in the day is not 22 today. You know what I mean? It still may be some 22-year-olds with shit stains in their drawers still. It may be. It ain't no maybe. It is. Again, both men and women. So it's still some 22-year-old right now is still got the mental capacity of a kid. But 22 in my day, and let me remind you, Cassie's my age. So when I say 22 back in my day, that was also 22 back in her day as well. You were fucking grown. And when it's, oh man, well, he took advantage of her because of her, she was so young and this and that to the third. Yes, that happens. That happens a lot. But it also happens on the other side too. It's also young women out here that will take full advantage of an older man. I just had a conversation the other day with some young ladies, and it was like, oh man, I'm gonna get me an older man. All I gotta do is just show him a little titty. They gonna give me he gonna give me the whole pension. And when she say that, it's funny. But the reason why it's so funny is because of how true it is. But still in all, it's funny and we laugh at it. But the sheer fact of an older man taking advantage of a younger woman, oh no, we can't have that. We got to find out where he works so we can sign petitions and get him fired and cancel him and ruin his life and put him in prison for the rest of his life. But bro, we grown at 22. Cassie's grown at 22. She know what the fuck she getting into. She know what she getting into. And my man had just brought this up to me yesterday. He was like, man, if Cassie was so afraid to leave, why did she leave? And it's like, damn, I ain't think about it like that. If she was so afraid to leave, she ended up leaving. And when she left, none of that shit she was worried about happened. And by the way, she left a few times. and still went back. So again, with that, it's just a week of the Diddy trial. It's just a week. We have a long way to go, but one thing I just don't. Like I just touched on a little bit. It's a few things that trigger me as a man. Like, yo, man, when you at what age do we stop feeling sorry for you? At what age do we not call you a kid anymore? Because I've been in conversations where, oh, they young. And it's like, how old are they? Well, they 31, 32. We ain't like, wait, what? Like, you grown. Like, you damn near old. And you still being called a kid? You still being called a kid at 30, 31. So, like, in Cassie's sense, no, when we was 22 today is not the 22 of 15 years ago, 16 years ago. We were much more mature. We were much more brain strong. Yes. And again, Cassie is my age. So my 21, 22 was also her 21, 22. You know what I mean? So like, we got to stop this. We got to hold people accountable. Again, we still have a long way to go in this trial. But as far as like trying to victimize everyone who has been young dealing with an older person, an older man, that's not really fair to the man. You know what I mean? And as I touched on before, like, I know a few dudes today that will prefer to deal with young chicks. And when I say young chicks, I'm talking about they'll be 39, 40, 41, and they want to fuck with somebody half their age. 20, 21, 22, 23. And yes, it's because they can take advantage of them. But not in the ways that you think. Not in the ways that's going to land you in prison. Like, they'll much rather, they want to deal with the young broad because you can tell her, oh yeah, this is my house. My mom just lived with me. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't want to put my mom in the home. So, you know what I mean? I just took her in. So, yeah, my mom, you know what I mean? I moved her in. I let her get the bigger room. You know what I mean? She was there for me all my life, so I'm going to be there for her. Your mom in better shape than you. You talking about you want to keep her out of a home. And it's like, you can tell a young chick that, and they'll believe it. Now, a chick who done been around the block a few times, they going to see through that bullshit. That young girl, you can go pick her up in 5 different cars over the course of the month. And you can tell her like, yeah, you know what I mean? I got so many ops. I got so many haters out here. You know what I mean? I just be having to switch up my cars. So, you know what I mean? The Corvette, you know what I mean? I parked that in this other garage. You know what I mean? Now I'm picking you up in the Scat Pack. You know what I mean? Yeah, and next week I'm going to pick you up in this. You can tell them that, you switching cars because you don't want your ops to be able to spot you out. But a chick who been around the block a few times, they gonna see that barcode that's in that back seat. They gonna know it's a rental. You know what I mean? So, I mean, again, like, you can flash $1,001 bills in front of a young chick now and make it look like 10, 20,000. But a chick who been around the block a few times gonna be able to see through that bullshit. So yes, I know some dudes who, yeah, they prefer to fuck with young chicks for that reason, to manipulate them, but to manipulate them to stroke their ego. Not manipulate them to have them doing some shit that they don't want to do and this and that to the third. But that's today. 22 back in the day, like, you were grown, man, and you knew you were. Yeah, we were smarter at 22. Even with today's generation of having all the information that they have in this world, we were smarter than them back then. because we just had street smarts. And again, just common sense though. We had common sense and we was using the shit. So that's what made us smarter than the 22-year-olds of today. So yeah, I'm sorry to have covered this for so long. But it was just really triggering to me, and I could go on more, but I'm gonna cut that short because I've been talking so long I ain't even look at the time. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of this, y'all. It's gonna be a lot of this, and this same conversation may resurface at a later time. You know what I mean? I want to preference my shit with that. So again, this trial will resume on Monday. So, I'll have another update for you, and I'll try to cut the reporting, in my opinion, in half of what it is today. Please forgive me for that. So with that being said, the next thing that has happened was the next biggest news of the week is Tory Lanez being stabbed 14 times. He is currently okay. His lungs he had 2 collapsed lungs. He was, he's stabbed 14 times. So, a lot would happen there. 14 times, that's a lot of times to get stabbed. And that's a lot of times to stab someone. They have currently caught the person who stabbed him. The reason for the stabbing, it's still up in the air from, it's a war between the blacks and the Latinos or whatever in that prison. Or I had heard that, Tory Lanez was flirting with the dude's girl on the visiting room floor. I've heard all of that. I don't know which one is true. I'm glad Tory Lanez is okay. Now, with that being said, in other related news to Tory Lanez, his lawyer has also came out and said that the driver has come forward and admitted that the girl Cassie shot Meg Thee Stallion instead of him. I guess he was overheard talking to somebody and, basically saying that the driver, had seen it all, and Cassie had actually shot the gun. Tory Lanez had actually batted the gun down, and he took the rap for the girl Kelsey. Now, this is a topic I tried to stay away from, just simply because I didn't know what to believe. But I'm gonna tell you, like, based on the comments that I have read pertaining to this, with people saying, oh, we already knew this and that to the third. It's like, yo, y'all need to be ashamed of yourselves, because it's like, y'all was tearing that man down. Y'all was tearing down. I'm not a Tory Lanez fan, but I'm not a Tory Lanez fan either. Like, but y'all need to be ashamed of yourselves by not speaking up as loudly as you should have. You know what I mean? Because again, it was the same thing as the Puff thing. It was like, oh man, women are getting abused and this and that, black women by black men, this and that to the third. And it was like, man, like, what the fuck? But so y'all should be ashamed of yourselves on that front. But again, Tory Lanez as well, yo, bruh, I don't give a fuck what you talking about. I'm telling on Shorty. Huh? Now, I'm going to hold it down for as long as you need me to hold it down for. As long as you need to get your story together, I'm going to hold it down. But you out your motherfucking mind if you think I'm about to be on trial for my life. And you, me, Meg, the driver, all know who shot you. I'm not fucking holding it down for you, man. Man, her, she did it. Nah, this ain't no street shit where we did shit to each other and you got the one up on me one time. Now, you know what I mean? You done shot at me. Now the police is, questioning me. And nah, I'm going to hold that down. We going to do what we do in our realm. But with this, that man, That man career is at stake right now. You know what I mean? And if that is true, Meg Thee Stallion should be ashamed of herself. Yes, I know she's with Roc Nation. Y'all all know how I feel about Jay-Z. That Jay-Z, I look at Hove as a friend of mine. But I don't give a fuck none of that. Y'all dead wrong. If that's true. And I think it is true. So again, hopefully this won't be the last we hear about this. Hopefully he'll fuck getting a second chance in court. Hopefully he'll get up out of that motherfucker. And he can fight whatever he has to fight from being from the outside. Yeah, let's just hope this ain't the last of this we hear about it. And if it is true, hopefully justice will serve its purpose on his end and release him and compensate him for his loss of whatever he had to endure. I'll be touching on this too at a later time. But again, this is something that I got to have a little bit more proof on before I give an actual definitive, an opinion on this. Because again, this Tory Lanez Meg Thee Stallion thing, this is also a sensitive topic to just as in society, period. So I'm going to choose to wait until more facts come up, in regard to that. With that being said, we are going to get into Snoop Dogg's Breakfast Club interview. Snoop has an album out. It just came out. Was it a crime? Is it a crime? Something like that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just don't look at Snoop the same as I did. And I love Snoop. I still love Snoop. But I just don't look at him the same. Snoop, he's a sellout. Somebody who had performed at a crypto event that was in conjunction with Trump during their inauguration time. Snoop, I ain't listened to your album. I'm not gonna listen to it. I don't care about it. And on his interview, in his Breakfast Club interview, they did ask him about, his feelings on people having such strong opinions on him doing something, performing at the crypto event. Well, he didn't perform. He was more so like DJing, but he was there. And the answer he gave, I'm going to try to recite it as much as I can. Yeah, well, how do you feel about people, having such strong opinions on, the crypto thing, you performing at the crypto thing? It's like, well, I call it 30 for 30, 30 minutes. I got a whole lot of money. I was able to do a lot of things for people in the hood, and 30 years of, my career has been 30 years. So, yeah, 30 for 30. Am I gonna, if I sound stupid trying to recite it, that's how it sounded. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a bunch of absolutely nothing. I watched that interview. I think he was on the Breakfast Club like Monday or Tuesday of this week. So I had watched it a couple of days ago, so I can't remember it offhand, but it was really dumb. And the answer he gave, that confirmed me, like, yo, I'm not fucking with this dude. This nigga's a sellout. You know what I mean? This dude, he's a complete sellout. And he was saying that, everybody that, had something to say about him with that, he had jumped in their DMs and was, pressing them in their DMs. Snoop, man, Snoop, bruh, stop. And the reason why I'm going to be as respectful as I possibly can, one, is because that's what this show represents, is even if I disagree with you, I'm going to do it as respectfully as I possibly can. This is not a clickbait show. This is not something I try to go viral off of by, disrespecting and like degrading people who are so important in our culture. Snoop Dogg, you can't take away any of his accolades ever. You can't. I'm not even going to attempt to. But you're a sellout, bro. You're a sellout. You did it for money. Say that, and I believe that will fuck with your legacy. You know what I mean? I do. Again, I don't really have a deep dive on it. I'm not as interested in Snoop as I once was, as far as like paying attention to his career and like championing him as a hip hop legend, which he is. You know, yeah, y'all got to stand for something. Snoop, you so important in our culture. You can't get caught doing any of that shit, especially when you were caught on camera clowning and disrespecting the people before you that may have done business with Trump. And then you turn around and do business with. It's like, yo, bro, but yeah, it is what it is. There, Cameron and Mace has issues with Akademiks because Akademiks, it was something where he was trying to convince people Kendrick wasn't selling out his shows. Lauren from the Breakfast Club, she had went to the show in MetLife Stadium, which was this past week, and she expressed how he was lying and how the show was packed, this and that to the third. So Akademiks, right on brand, decides to jump out the window when it comes to in regards to a female. Then a female by the name of Stat, who works on the Cam and Mace show, had came to the defense of Lauren. And so he then started, he was gonna go off on her, but I guess he called himself putting her in her place. And the reason why he's not going to go off on Stat is because of the respect he has for Cam and Mace. So then, I guess their show had, It Is What It Is, had posted something on Instagram basically saying, we ain't taking no disrespect to our, to our girl Stat. That's our little sister, this and that to the third. So Akademiks chose to take that time to now disrespect Cam and Mace. And now we're here. So I guess we're waiting on a response from Cam and Mace. I'm not a fan of none of them. Cam is cool, hip hop legend. Mace, I think he's absolute. Him and Akademiks, I believe, are in the same boat. They're both soft. So that's as far as I'm gonna go with that. Again, I'm just giving you the news. You know what I mean? But I don't really have a deep dive on it because I don't care about any of those parties involved. Amber Rose called herself an African queen. I'm glad that came and went. Shit not even important enough to even have an opinion on it. But the reason why I report on it, I want to let you guys know that I am aware of things that is happening. And I also want to let you guys know, I also want to go out of my way to let you guys know of the subjects that I choose to ignore and not have an opinion on, because they are not even important enough to having an opinion on them. So, there you have it with that. A young lady had got jumped at her own baby shower by the people she invited, I guess her so-called friends. Don't know why. As a result of that, her unborn baby died. Again, that's all we have right there. That is incredibly sad. And hopefully every individual who had anything to do with that goes to prison for the rest of their natural born life. I stand very firm on that. Kids and when I say kids, I'm not talking about the kids that you guys may be referring to. You guys call 21, 22-year-olds kids. Yeah, no, I'm talking about actual kids. That do something to me when I hear something happen to a kid. And for an embryo to not even have the chance to be born and have a chance at life, period, because her mother got jumped in a place where she should have felt the safest. is incredibly unfortunate and bad. So again, we don't know why. Well, I don't know why. You know, I haven't heard any reports outside of that initial report. You know, so there you have it with that. So I'm going to keep you guys updated with that. As soon as I hear anything about that, I will keep you guys updated. Cardi B had made her public appearance with Stefon Diggs at a Knicks game. Salute to both of them. It made news because they are both polarizing people. You know, again, I'm just reporting on it. I don't have no deep dive into that. Some people are trying to criticize Cardi because Stefon Diggs is a known whore and this and that to the third. I ain't into none of that. Both of y'all do y'all business. Y'all be safe. And the second y'all done with each other, if that day ever comes, just do it peacefully and try to keep as many people out of your business as possible. So shout out to both of them. Recently, this just didn't happen last week, but the week before, and I forgot to report on it, is a racist woman had raised money because she was in the public spotlight. She went viral for calling a 5-year-old boy a nigger. And last I checked, she raised over $600,000 on GoFundMe. Do I even need to say more? Now, this is the same GoFundMe who shut down the opportunity of the guy who ran over the state trooper because his son died at the hands of police. This is the same GoFundMe that shut down the opportunity of him to be able to raise money. And we worrying about burying Puff. Pay attention, people. Pay attention. I'm not gonna sit up here and preach to y'all and do this whole white versus black thing. Just act like y'all see what the fuck going on. Just pay attention. That's all. That's all. Y'all out here trying to put 13-year-old girls on Jay-Z and put molestation on Justin Bieber and Usher and Kevin Hart, and y'all not even paying attention to what's going on in the real, like, in this field. We at a war. We at war. And with us going to war within ourselves, we won't live to see that. We don't got a chance to win the big war, which is right versus wrong. And in today's world, white versus black. And not in terms of appearance, mindset. Because there's plenty of white people who will quickly call all this bullshit and unfair and everything like that. So it's not, oh, if you white, I'm black, fuck you. No, not at all. Even if we disagree on some of these topics. But as long as the intention of doing right is there, as long as you're not a malicious person, we on the same side. So right versus wrong. So yeah, GoFundMe, you know, they could, yeah, that hit a nerve with me too. But I'm going to try to remain as professional as possible, because again, when I post these things, there's certain things that I can't say, or if I say them, my page will get flagged and I will be in jeopardy of losing my page. And this is something that I would like to grow. So I'm not going to do that as of now, but just know I am as pro-black as they come. And GoFundMe is clearly not someone or a company of our kind or even want to help us in any way. So let's just pay attention to that instead of, going to war with ourselves and trying to put our successful black men in prison for the rest of their days and erase their history. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, we already at war with the wrong side. Let's not be at war with ourselves. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up this episode of Elephant in the Room. Again, I apologize for, you know, the long take on the long coverage on the Puff thing, but you know, that's what got a lot of our attention right now. But again, while we're paying attention to this, it's also that type of shit that's going on too with that GoFundMe shit. Just pay attention, y'all. Stay alert. You know what I mean? So again, man, appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. I will be back. Now, next week is the Memorial holiday weekend. So what I'm gonna do, I'll come back in the middle of the week and give you guys an update on what I'm gonna decide to do, because I know what Memorial Day weekend, you know, a lot of people are doing things. You know, a lot of people not gonna have time to sit on their phones or in front of their TV for north of 30 minutes to listen to anything. So I might give you guys a break next week and resume the week after, but it's not in stone yet. I'm going to play it by ear, but I will most definitely touch base with you guys well before the next episode, which is episode number 23, is due to come out. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank you guys for your continued support that you continue to show me. Please know that this does not go unnoticed, and it is not taken for granted at all, people. So appreciate it, and I would appreciate it even more if you continue the support. And I promise you, people, it will get better the longer this show goes. So with that being said, man, I want to give a shout out to everybody, once again, everybody that has showed me support, everybody that have given me constructive criticism, compliments, who wants to join the show. I appreciate you guys, and I promise you, I will get some guests on here soon. So with that being said, be safe out there, people. Stay sucker free and continue to do what makes sense to you and for you. With that being said, that'll wrap it up for this week's episode, Elephant in the Room, episode number 22. In conclusion, signing off.